Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with my all-time most favorite co-host in the world, Jen Albanese. Welcome, Jen.
Hello, Maury. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Another fun one.
We do have a great guest today, one of your oldies but goodies.
Yes. Oh, Nick Montferret. He's so great. And, it's so great to be able to catch up with people that we used to work with, used to be an intern here at Syracuse and have gone on to do great things. So I know we've had a lot of those lately, and it just warms my heart that they're all doing so well, especially Nick. So
it's one of the best parts of this whole thing is to be able to connect with all these people that are across the country now being amazing at what they do.
I know. It's so nice.
But one of the things that Nick is known for is he actually started off in the equipment room.
Yes, he did. Yes,
and
that's right.
He was the swag giver. And with that, I want to know what your favorite piece of swag has been over the years.
Oh my gosh. Well, see, so I'll take it all the way back to when I was in high school. I did win Best Dressed.
Wow.
So,
it is true that for every episode you write down what you wear so you don't repeat.
I do. So we don't want to repeat. See.
I repeat all the time for anyone that watches on YouTube. I don't care.
I love it. So yes, I take the swag and the clothes and all that really it's a fun part for me, kind of like the fashion side of it. But I will say in recent years, I have stepped up my swag and my sneaker game. Cause I was just somebody who wore sneakers to work out or play a sport or do something. I never wore them in a fashion sense. And in the last 10 years, I feel that's become a thing for girls, wear them with dresses and joggers.
I also feel your husband doesn't hurt because he also is
very into sneakers. But so I will give Jackie Antano a shout out because she's the best and she has thousands of sneakers. So she got me my first pair of Nike Blazers. She helped me pick them out for my birthday one year. And now I have 5 or 6 pairs of very casual fashion sneakers Nike that go with jeans or go with shorts and joggers and stuff that I can wear out. So that is my new favorite piece of swag is to what sneakers go with my outfit and what is all that. So that's kind of cool for me. I know I'm probably really late to that game and makes me sound old, but yeah, that's mine. Okay, what's yours though?
So mine has to do with, for years, I coveted this pair of boots that Jamie Mullen, if he probably will never listen to the podcast, but if he ever does, someone might tell him. He had these pair of boots, Syracuse winter boots, Nike winter boots.
I remember those.
I wanted about those for so long. I would always try and find them, never could. Jamie ran the equipment room for a long time, so I'm sure that it helps him through that. But I would ask him and he'd be like, oh, they only have sizes, whatever to whatever. I finally got a pair of these boots. And I'm so happy, love those boots, got my pair. I think last year I got them. And then I would say another solid item for me is those varsity jackets that have the thick lining,
like a bomber,
a bomber jacket, yeah, but they're kind of collegiate, less yes. I'm gonna take an airplane up and fly it, type of deal. So that's my other one. I'm not at the putting the helmet on with it. It's more of I'm gonna go play sports in the 1950s a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. It's so funny. Fashion is so cyclical. It'll be something that was popular 20 years ago is now popular again. So
I would say my other one is a light hoodie, something you can throw over that you can wear in layers. And there's some nice lighter hoodies that they've issued over the years. Mm-hmm. So that's my other one that I enjoy.
Yeah, that gray one. We sometimes wear it at the same time.
We did wear it the other day, the same time.
Always good.
Yeah.
So yeah, swag is fun. Fashion is fun. So
yeah, and we'll connect it back for Nick that we have coming up because that was his beginning. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about equipment somewhere in there. So
there you go.
Everyone check it out after these messages.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Very much. Today's guest built a career turning college sports into unforgettable fan experiences. He started at Syracuse University as an undergrad, then on to Arizona State University, earning his master's in global management while managing marketing and game presentation for multiple sports, breaking revenue records and boosting attendance along the way. From there, he joined Air Force Athletics, leading marketing for men's basketball and football. His work set new records in revenue and kinetic attendance while helping Air Force rank #1 in social media growth across the FBS. Now at Charlotte Athletics, he serves as the Associate Athletic Director for Marketing and Fan Engagement, overseeing a full team of driving major results, including back-to-back years of record ticket revenue, a marketing automation rollout that brought in over $860,000, and a digital and overhaul that boosted returns dramatically, a leader in strategic fan engagement and innovation in college sports. Please welcome Nick Montferret to the podcast. I didn't say that right. I was like going there, but we'll get that. We'll fix it later.
No one ever does. So
Hi, Nick.
I should know from all these years, Nick, to be able to say it the right way.
Come on, Maury.
Honestly, there was a point in college I started saying my name wrong because everyone else did. So I would not worry about it, but I appreciate it. That was a long-winded way to say we're the fun and games department, which I learned a long time ago from
Exactly.
Jen.
The fun and games. I always used to say that. Oh, if that's the one thing you learned from me, Nick. There you go.
It definitely was not. I'm sure you'll come up a lot more than you think in the segment.
Wow. Well, we always loved having you as part of our group. So always one of my faves. So
Nick, I remember a lot of time with like postseasons men's soccer. I feel like that was like we spent an enormous amount of time together.
We did. And there's, oh man, it's funny the amount that I still go back to my time as a marketing assistant at Syracuse. I was like, I was a college student and, now it's 9-10 years later or whatever.
Isn't that crazy how fast that goes?
But I still like, we had one of our assistant directors is planning for women's basketball. And I was like, let me pull up some stuff we did at Syracuse way back when. And
I love it.
It's funny. It's there's so much. I knew nothing at that time, but it was the start of what became my entire career. And I learned so much in such a short time there.
Yeah, we gave you a lot to do, Nick. That's how you learn. We just kept giving you stuff to do. So
you did. I tell people you guys threw me straight into the fire, and
yeah,
I guess I lasted.
I did. Obviously, you're thriving. So
well, now with those years of experience and our foundation that we gave you, let's throw out that first tip.
Yes.
Yeah. So first tip is hopefully one that's not being heard for the first time, but collaboration is key. And it's really specifically when you're talking about the marketing department and working in marketing. So you cannot do this role without the help of every single unit, and you will not do this role without touching every other single unit in the athletic department. So if you don't learn how to sit in the middle of all these units and coexist and for meaningful, successful, effective relationships, you will not be successful in the marketing role. It's just impossible. You'll find yourself fighting against your own people. And, that's just not a way to run a successful business. So, finding a way to collaborate, I always tell my people, like, that's on you in the marketing department. It's not on the other people. You in the marketing department, put yourself in the middle, get comfortable there and find a way to work with everyone.
No, it's funny. We were talking about this today.
I was just going to say, this is so like perfect for what we were doing today, Maury. Perfect.
Yeah, it's hard. Like when you have young people that don't realize like how many tentacles are out there with what you guys do and like how to make it happen and how to communicate and how to like deal with things, it becomes like a really interesting task to like people think they know what you guys do in marketing, and it becomes very clear early when it's not kind of taking off the way they want it, when they didn't get everybody involved and really are not those clear communicators.
I think it's hugely important too when you're young, because it's not necessarily inherent for young people in the industry. It's not necessarily a skill that you kind of come into the workforce with. So it takes some time to understanding, and it takes kind of taking a step back and looking at how other people do it. And so it's really important, not just for young people to know, but for older, more experienced people to know, because people are watching how you interact with everyone. And if they watch someone step all over everyone in the business, that's what they think will be right. And they'll become, someone in the business that is not very collaborative and doesn't get things done. And so, as I've been able to step into a role where I'm leading people, that's something I'm really cognizant of as well, is like these people are watching me every step of the way and how I communicate with others. And that's important.
That's awesome.
You can't do this job alone. I mean, not really in any, department, but especially marketing. Like, you need so many other people to help implement what you want to do, your ideas, your creativity, how you do the fun and game side of it, and if you think you can do it alone, it just will never be successful. You have to have those relationships with facilities and athletic communications and creative, and all of those people play a role in the success. And this is not in a siloed one group role. It's everybody's role. So that's a good one. Collaboration is very key.
I mean, the other thing, that's what makes being in some of those roles great. Like, I really like being in my job and doing because I get to work with so many people. I think the same way when Jen and you, Nick,
absolutely.
it really is nice to be in some of those roles that you get to work with so many of your peers in the department, because there's always energy, there's always things going on. And though it can be hectic and crazy, it really does.
It's the most fun part. It's the most fun part, when you're
sitting
in a room with
a bunch
of different people. No, go ahead. Nick, go ahead.
It's the best. It keeps you up at night, though, sometimes.
It does do that sometimes. Well, awesome first start. What do we got for your second tip?
So second tip, honestly, piggybacks off of tip number one. So how do you collaborate with others? You got to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes. And this was something that I learned when I was at Syracuse. Actually, I didn't even know I was learning it at the time. But my first 4 years, all 4 years of being a student at Syracuse, I was an equipment manager. And I worked for Jim over in equipment. And I learned so much. And that was my first experience in the athletic department. But I saw it through that equipment lens. And then my last year, I jumped over and I got the marketing job with you guys. And I was able to kind of see the business side of things and not the team side of things. But being able to make that jump, I was able to then see some other people in the department in a different light. And I was able to kind of put myself in their shoes so that when I went to collaborate with them, I could approach them in an appropriate way, which was hugely important. If you're the equipment guy, you don't want your marketing person coming to you on game day, right? I knew that from my time in equipment, like the anxiety you got from people coming to you and asking you stuff on game day. It's like, this is not the time.
I'm so sorry, Jimmy, if I ever did that to you. I'm so sorry.
But
I really try hard not to.
It's just one of those things that, whether in that's the equipment side of things is just a really simple example of that. When I went off and went to Arizona State, I ended up getting my master's in international business, and it was really cool. It was like an MBA program, and but it focused on basically how you do business in everywhere but the United States. And so the whole program was based around how do you go into these other countries and learn about their cultures and their norms, and how do you essentially put yourself in their shoes and understand, like, I'm not going to do business with these people if I can't find middle ground where we can, see each other eye to eye. And so I came out of that and I was like, it's not any different in an athletic department, right? You're working with people that have completely, different unit goals. And so that can get tricky sometimes, but when you find like you're butting heads, or you're maybe not seeing eye to eye, put yourself in that person's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from and why they need to do that. Why does a fundraiser need to make this decision? Because they have a little bit different goal than you do in marketing, and they're not necessarily trying to get in your way. And so I think that's just something that, again, is really hard when you're young to understand. But the earlier you can pick up on that, the more successful you're going to be in building really meaningful relationships with people in your department and having more honest conversations that get to something that is successful.
No, it's a great tip. And I think it's like amazing that you took it out of like thinking about things from a cultural, like international way, and then transitioning that into like your work life, because that's such a key part. It's such a hard thing to do, is try and like empathize and put yourself in someone else's shoes. You don't know what's going on. And even having those conversations to be like, okay, they don't probably understand what's going on with me either. And how do I transmit that to them so we can try and figure out a way to get both sides? Like that can be one of the hardest discussions, because you don't want to come off like you're saying no, because a lot of people, that's their first inclination. Like if you're having a conversation saying like, hey, like I'm having this issue on my end, they think that that's you're going to know. And sometimes it's like, how do you get to explain to them, okay, here's the challenge, but how do we incorporate what we both want? And taking that from like seeing other people's side is such an interesting way, especially when you put it in the context of like a global landscape.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
The other thing I'd say too, as you start to manage people, it's just as important, because all of the people you manage will all need to be managed differently.
Right.
And
100%.
If you don't understand them, from their perspective, you're just not going to be an effective manager. So it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving as you move through your career.
Yeah, that's a good one about the managing different people, because people learn and take things differently depending on how you say something to somebody. They might learn more visually, or you need to, you got to write it down for them. They got to experience it for themselves. Like everybody learns differently. And that's a good one too for, people who have been in the industry and are starting to get into leadership roles. Learning about how you manage people is really important, because if you manage all the same way, it's just not going to be successful for your staff, because they're all different people and react in different ways. So that's good too. That's good.
Awesome. It's all flowing together.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, what do we got?
This one's new, so it won't relate to the first two, but this is my marketing heavy one. So number 3, find something to specialize in. And it's probably relevant to people that aren't going to get into marketing too. Yeah. But one of, I think, the biggest drivers of my career and why I've been able to kind of move up and grow the way that I have is that I found something to specialize in, and that's how I differentiated myself. So for me, it was something as small and silly as email marketing. So when I was at Air Force, no one really raised their hand and said, hey, I want to do email marketing. And so I took it on. And I didn't just check the box. I became an expert at it. So I made this thing that we called the email Bible. And so we put this whole program together and built out a new system with Eloqua when we brought that on. And we learned, I taught everyone everything down to how many words you're supposed to have in your subject line to make it effective. And being able to specialize in something as simple as email marketing, it did 2 things. It made me really valuable to my boss, because I was able to take that off his plate. So I was able to initially just start sending all the football emails. But in year 2, I was able to actually basically control the football messaging, which was great for my growth, because I was able to interview for jobs and say, I was crafting all of the messaging that was going out for football basically. And I had oversight, but it was coming from my head. And then, one of the second things is it just really opened some new doors for me at Air Force. Like when I was able to start sending emails for football, that made me important in a way. And so I started to be in more important meetings with more important people. And they started to see how I worked. And so I started to be able to build a relationship with kind of upper management more so than I was able to as an assistant director. So it's kind of silly to say, really focus on email marketing, but it can be anything. I think back to my time at Arizona State, and I kind of specialized in music, which is also, again, such a silly thing, but
it's not though. It's not.
important.
It's
no,
very important.
it's honestly one of the most important for people that are going to get into game presentation. Music is the most important thing that you can learn. Being able to, as a boss, not having to worry about your music person and knowing they will play the right song at the right moment, is just invaluable. And it's kind of funny. I laugh saying it, but like it's important. And if you're able to specialize in music and take the time to set up your music computer and your hotkeys and kind of map it all out for the game, and you take that headache off of your boss's plate and other people in the department as a young employee, that makes you really valuable, and that will open some doors for you. So, music, email marketing, data analytics, these are things that like people don't necessarily want to do. And like, as you get higher up, you don't have the time necessarily to dive into these things on a really granular level. But you can provide a lot of value no matter if you're in your first 6 months on the job or you're 3 years in, by finding a way to specialize in these things.
Music, you literally, it cannot be more important. Like, I spend a good amount of my days preparing our DJ for football season. Like, we meet weekly, we go through the run of show weekly, and we talk about what we have going on, where we want to place things, and what music we want to include, and how we change it up week to week, and what are the important songs to have and where to have them queued up. Like, people don't realize that there's a whole process behind that, and that it's if somebody can take that off of a boss's plate or make that an easier process, that is invaluable. And marketing people who are listening, and fan engagement, fan experience, whatever we call ourselves these days, will understand that. And it's such a key thing. So music, I could talk for hours about the music.
Well, then each team has their own preferences. Like, it's not like the same thing that you have for the football team, you're going to do for your soccer team, or for ice hockey. Like, you have to incorporate what their culture and their preference. It's a thing. People don't realize it.
You'll never make everyone happy with music. No, that's like the number one thing about music.
And you have to be okay with that. You have to just accept that and listen to the feedback and say, yep, thank you very much, and I'm going to do the best that I can.
And all it takes is one song to get a phone call from your AD or somebody about how the wrong song with the wrong lyrics or the wrong message can ruin an experience for someone that's in those roles. So Jen and I have been many times, I've watched people walk up to like a student walk up with a thing, and I'm screaming, "Do not play that yet!" Like, just waiting for someone to do the wrong thing. So it's a one of those things that you definitely have to be aware of.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, one of the things I always tell my people is, if you play the right song at the right moment, it will be more important and more impactful than anything else you do. Like, any promotion you plan, any ticket deal, 100%. Any giveaway
changes the energy.
It will be more impactful than all of that in creating a good atmosphere on a game day. And the rest of the stuff's supplementary. So like, once you get music down, then you add the other stuff, and you can have a really cool game day that way. But if you have a bunch of great stuff and you can't play music right, it's not going to be a fun day for anyone.
Nope. And it's never perfect, and it's never the same every game. So it's, music is never like, there's not a perfect solution for music. There's not a right answer. It changes every game. So we could do a whole episode on just music and games.
I was going to go back. I was going to go back to Nick's original tip, and that is, specializing in something. And I kind of find it interesting, kind of being later in my career, not too far later, but a little bit above, like before where you came in, Nick. And I think that you end up going through cycles of specializing in more and more. Like, it's kind of a strange thing. Like, I know in my career, like I kind of was very much in like game operations when I first got into things, and I was kind of put into my role. And so it was like, how do I run a game? And then as I've grown, like right now, I've done a lot more with building facilities and planning. And now I've specialized in that. And then taking that with working with coaches and doing sport oversight. And like you kind of take these pieces of things that you specialize and you build that into a career. And like you said, it becomes really valuable because whether it's your AD or you're looking at a new position and trying to put together all these pieces that you've now really mastered and spent the time on, it really does make a difference and really does put it together. And, you know, what a good tip to say, like, don't just like skim over anything, like really take the time to get really good at some things, because that's what's going to make the difference. And then, you know, also have your staff specialize in things. Like to me, that's a big thing. We talk a lot about in my group about ownership, about like, okay, when you are assigned a role, like you own that and that becomes your responsibility. So I think of like, there's a person in my group that's become the specialist on camps and she owns it and she makes sure that that's good. Or the guy that makes sure that all the building security stuff is set and he owns it and he becomes specialized in it. And that really, it forms a team. Like we all know how the other ones do stuff, but the fact that those people, you know, are following that role and taking care of it just makes everything even much more. So between helping yourself and helping your organization, it's just a great, you know, great insight.
You usually find out too how well you did it when you interview for a new job.
Yeah.
Because when you interview for a new job, the level of depth you need to talk about things, you can tell at that moment if someone decided to check a box and say, I do marketing and I've done music and I've done emails before. But the people who have become an expert at one or two of those things, they'll talk for days, you know, about that. They can talk to such a level of detail. Like I was saying, I could, at the time, I could tell you your subject line is this, like, this is where you put the photos. This is how call to actions are most effective. This is, you know, the open rate you want. This is how you minimize unsubscribes. Like it was like I was nerdy about emails.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
No, that's how you master something. Spend the time and put in the hour. So no, this is awesome. Okay. Number 4.
Yes. Number 4. Yes.
On to 4. This was the only one that I think might not be necessarily specific to marketing, but number 4, you can't be afraid to fail. So I will say it is probably more relevant for marketing, because if you're like a trainer, you should probably be a little bit afraid to fail. But if you're in marketing, like we're the creative department, right? The fun and games department. The only way we grow is through failure and calculated failure and learning. That doesn't mean be reckless. There's a difference, but we cannot, as bosses and, you know, as people in marketing, we can't create this culture where people are afraid to fail, because there will just be no growth in the marketing space, and it's completely counterproductive. So, you know, I think it's similar to kind of what you hear a lot in this business. Like if you're comfortable, you're probably in a bad spot in sports. You know, and I think in marketing is just one of those jobs where it's never good enough. Like there's always better. You can always do better. You can always do more. And it doesn't mean you didn't do a good job and you didn't do maybe a great job. But you go home, you celebrate, and then you figure out how you can do it better the next time. That's the job. And if you want to get into marketing and that doesn't sound appealing to you, you probably should look into a different direction. But you know, that's the gig. And I think as leaders, you know, in the industry, being able to create this safe kind of environment for our people to safely fail and fail in calculated strategic ways that are not detrimental, but are good for growth. That's really important.
Yeah, we always say like, okay, try something, and if it doesn't work, we've tried it. We always say try something one time. So, and my boss says that, our AD says that. So, like, that's an open, invitation for us to try, some things, and we're in the process right now of doing some crazy things for our Halloween game, and how do we go about and get some cool things to make that a really fun, exciting game. And some things are a little bit crazy. Some things might work, might not work. And that's okay. And like you said, you got to do it, obviously not be reckless, but be willing to try something new. And what's the worst that can happen? It just kind of flops. Okay, we move on and we try something else. But the best thing is if you didn't try it and it's really great, then it would have never happened. So I love that. And I think people are afraid of that. People are afraid of that. I'll admit sometimes I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of like, oh, should we do that? Do we have the budget for that? Can we afford that? Do we want to open ourselves up to that, feedback and that? But in the end, some of the stuff that works the best are the things that may not have worked in the beginning. So
it's so easy to get comfortable. It's natural, for everyone
easy
to try and find this comfortable place to land. And, maybe an added tip that kind of piggybacks off this is like finding a way to continue to push yourself, and for me, like constantly reminding myself that we haven't failed enough recently. We need to start doing some things, because if everything seems perfect and everything's, we're not pushing ourselves hard enough.
Right.
We're probably leaving some out there. So, I definitely think that's something that we try and preach, but it's really easy to fall into kind of the trap of it at all, levels of experience.
I think you guys have it the hardest because people see these like social media clips and like stuff becomes like this huge like thing. And like you have to throw yourself out there to get that to happen. But for every one of those, you've probably done like 20, 30, 100 other things, and that one thing hits. And that's the thing that people don't see is like how often you guys have to try and do things to even just get that one thing that really just gets attention. And like I've always been very impressed with how you guys have to go through that in that process, because it's very different than like what I do or what some of the other people within the department are not having to go through that process, like knowing that, hey, we're going to have to put ourselves out there and see what happens.
Yeah, you're a very public unit in the marketing department. So
yes.
When you fail, people will see it. That's part of the gig. So you got to have thick skin as well. And you got to kind of understand, make sure you're doing everything with good intentions. And as long as you do those things, you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Okay, the last one, Nick. So, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So, what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
This one took me a while to think of, because every time I was like, I think my career's, if I went back and did my career again, I'd do it exactly the same. So there's not much I would change. But that kind of helped me land where my answer is, which is the power behind a positive mindset. And so I was thinking a lot about when I was at Syracuse, and that was the first time I got a job offer, and I got a job offer at Arizona State to go be a GA there. And I was nervous. I was really nervous because it's very far away. I mean, I was moving from the snowiest city in America. That was 2 hours from home.
Yeah.
And I was going to move all the way across country to the desert. That was 120 degrees out. No friends there, a huge athletic department, just an entirely different experience. And, the same thing when I was at Arizona State and I was looking at a couple job opportunities that I was kind of weighing between. And I was playing this what if game of, what if that job, I pick it and it's not the right opportunity? What if I go there and the boss, is not what I think it is? Or what if I go there and the resources aren't what I think they are? And, I don't like the job and I made the wrong choice. And it eventually clicked that I have the power to control all of that. If you attack these big career moments with a positive mindset, you have the power to make every single opportunity the right one for you. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if you attack them with the wrong mindset, you have the power to make sure that every opportunity is the wrong one for you.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you go into a new job and you say, they don't have the resources to succeed here, for me to succeed here, my boss never lets me do X, Y, and Z. These people are not friendly. I have no friends here. I have no life. The money's not enough. You start saying things like that. And you're probably going to be not working there for a while.
Right.
Self-fulfilling prophecies.
Right.
But you the right mindset going into attacking this industry with the right mindset can do so much for you, and it will set you on a path that is bound to be successful, because every challenge is an opportunity. It's not a problem. It's not a roadblock. It's an opportunity to build your resume, to attack a problem that's going to help you later in your career. You can phrase it however you want to phrase it, but the right mindset is huge. And I think if I were to go back and learn that a little bit earlier, it probably would have saved me a little bit of anxiety when I was making some decisions early on in my career.
Yeah.
But it all worked out. And I ended up doing that. That's how I learned it. I went to those places and I had the right mindset, and my career's been perfect. I've had the best bosses, and I've worked at the best places and lived in the best places. So I have no complaints. But, I kind of look back and think if I knew that earlier, it probably would have been a little more helpful. And if other people could know that earlier, they could probably set themselves on that path a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, this has been awesome. We were so grateful to have you, and it's so awesome to see you doing so well and killing it. And, the guy from Syracuse, that positive mindset's got you far. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course, Nick, this was great. And we're so proud of you, like Maury said. And, obviously special place in my heart because you worked with me. And it's so great to see how far you've come. And I think all of these tips and everything you said will be hopefully so helpful for everyone listening. And we so appreciate your time, Nick. So thank you. And thanks to everybody for listening. Make sure you guys are following us on all our social channels at Ath Career Pod, and new episodes drop every Tuesday. And make sure you're liking us and following us and rating and reviewing on all your podcast platforms too, because we appreciate all of that and appreciate everybody's support. And yeah, this was great. Thank you, Nick.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
You guys.
Bye.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.